Hello, everyone. I'm Jason. Alongside me is Andrew, and we have a very special guest, Mr. Chuck Burgess, who we will get to momentarily. Welcome to this K-Sports Sunday Memorial Day Monday audition here in the Boomtown Studios in Waltham, just inside Route 128. How are you doing today, Andrew?
Good.
That's good. And Mr. Burgess, how are you?
I'm great. It's a pleasure to be here with you, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So let's just start off with some general things. Mr. Burgess has written numerous books, including this book called A View from the Booth about Gil Santos and Gino Cappelletti, who are longtime radio sportscasters for the New England Patriots. So, Mr. Burgess, why did you decide to become a sports writer?
Well, it was kind of in my blood in that I was born into a sporting family. My great-grandfather came to America from Scotland as one of the first golf pros in America. And I was always interested in his career, and I started writing golf stories. And those golf stories allowed me to become a member of the Golf Writers Association of America, and it led to my first book. And then one book about golf led to a book about the Red Sox, and the Red Sox book led to a Patriots book.
All right. So your book, Golf Links, is about Francis Ouimet, and you said your grandfather?
My great-grandfather.
Great-grandfather, who coached
Yes, he did.
Francis Ouimet. And so how did you, I know your great-grandfather coached him, but was there any other reason that you decided to write about Francis Ouimet's story?
Well, it was a fantastic story. I don't know if you know that this is the 100th anniversary of him winning the Open, and he virtually was Rocky meets golf. He was like Miracle, the movie Miracle. It was a tremendous achievement, and so that always fascinated me. And the more I dug into the stories, because when you grow up in a golfing family, you hear the stories and you don't know how much of that is just not the truth or just wishful thinking. But when I did the research, I found out that both Francis Ouimet and my great-grandfather had so much more to contribute, and did contribute so much more to golf than the popular understanding of them. So that led me to want to write the book.
Okay, so Francis Ouimet, he took down two of Great Britain's greatest golfers to win the 1913 U.S. Open, and this was a major breakthrough for golf in America. Yet when I talked to, because I saw an article about it in the pro shop at the country club in Brookline, when I talked to other golfers at the course, most of them had no idea who Francis Ouimet was. Why do you think that is?
Well, that's pretty sad, I guess. I found the absolute opposite. When I go around, I was up in Long Meadow, in Lowell, Long Meadow course up there, and it seemed to me that there's a lot of the golfers who love to play the game also are fascinated by its traditions and its history. So it may be just who you talk to.
Yeah.
Hopefully, in a year from now, everybody will know, because we're trying to make Golf Links into a documentary film. I think you might know about that.
Yeah.
And hopefully that will broaden the base and get more people to appreciate what a great talent young Francis Ouimet was.
All right, sounds good. Do you want to talk about
Yeah, so Mr. Burgess is producing a film about Francis Ouimet, and we have a trailer for you to look at.
Oh, that's fine. That's great.
A story as dramatic as Rocky. A journey as improbable as Miracle. A dream as big as Rudy. And a tale as heartwarming as A Field of Dreams. More than a century ago, a young boy from Brookline, Massachusetts had a dream. At a time when his friends wanted to be baseball stars or football heroes, the young boy wanted to be something very different. He wanted to be the greatest golfer in the world. The boy was Francis Ouimet, and before he was old enough to vote, that dream came true. By the early 1900s, the game of golf had been played for centuries in Great Britain and Europe. British professionals were the masters of the sport. American golf was an amateur pastime then, a game only for the rich and powerful. Francis Ouimet.
So start on. So
that's great.
We saw the trailer, and it's a great story, as most of our viewers now know. Ouimet, amateur golfer. He he was caddied at the country club in Brookline, and he was given the opportunity to play at that time one of golf's biggest stages. So your great-grandfather, did he start coaching We Met before the U.S. Open?
Yes. When Francis was 15 years old, he was a member of the Brookline High School golf team. It was one of only a handful in the whole state. There weren't many golf teams in those days. And they couldn't practice at the country club. So they practiced at the Woodland Golf Club in Newton, where my great-grandfather had just become the pro.
Okay.
Francis and his teammates had to practice there, and that's when they first met. So it was before Francis's championship, any kind of a championship run. And actually, my great-grandfather, who they called Che, helped all of the boys on the team. But he recognized that Francis had something special and took him under his wing. And you know, in those days, the pros weren't glamorous. It was a tough life. They had to get up early, give lessons all day. And what he did was, on the one day he had off a week, which was Sunday, he would go to church in the morning, have his noonday meal, and then play golf all afternoon with Francis. Because that was the only way that Francis could develop. Francis was a poor kid. He couldn't belong to a country club. He had no access to the links except that way. And so it was a wonderful, sort of a mentoring relationship, a father-son relationship, as it were. And I think both men were better for it. It was a great story.
Yeah. All right, so I saw in the trailer of the Disney movie, The Greatest Game Ever Played, a man walking up to Francis and telling him be at the course Sunday, like first thing in the morning. Was that your great-grandfather?
No. Unfortunately, that version was sort of the Hollywood version of what really happened. And they cut a lot of corners. It was a wonderful story, and it was entertaining, and it got a lot of people to know about Francis We Met. But the real story, the real facts behind how Francis did it, is much more compelling, I think. And the only way you can really address those is through a documentary film, sort of like Ken Burns does. You know? You know, and that's what we're reaching for. And I think once people see the documentary and compare it to the Hollywood film, they're going to walk away with a whole new appreciation for Francis We Met and the way he became champion.
All right, so do you think when people in America see your documentary of your book, Golf Links, do you think their view on golf will change? Because I know most of my friends, when I say, oh, I play golf, they're like, golf is weird, it's so slow, it's boring. Do you think people's view will change on golf?
Well, I don't know about their view on contemporary golf. You know, that's a whole different subject because you've got, you know, people out there now, the professional game is so much different. I think what people will walk away from is an appreciation of the times that golf developed in America and how it changed a lot of society and how it gave opportunities to a lot of poor kids to caddy and then become golfers themselves. So I don't know if it'll convert people and want them to play golf, but I think if we present this right, it will make you as psyched up as you were when you saw Hoosiers, or if you saw Rudy. That's the kind of feeling we think will come from this film, and I think people will have an appreciation for the achievement that Francis We Met made.
All right, so getting back to the Patriots. So this book was about the 18-1. Fortunately, Patriots losing the most important game of the season. So I just wanted to start, Mr. Burgess, by getting your perspective of that season from a fan standpoint.
Well, I'm a lifelong fan. Well, as long as my life coincided with the Patriots. I was 14 years old. I was a freshman in Foxborough High School, and I was going out for the freshman football team when the Patriots came to town. So you can imagine we were really psyched. It was great. We had our own team. We didn't have to root for the Giants anymore. I mean, that was horrible, but that's all we had back in those days. So we followed the team very closely, and one of my heroes was Gino Cappelletti. And I never dreamed in a million years that I would not only have the chance to sit with him and talk with him and learn all about his career, but actually become a friend of his. So writing it's wonderful. It opens a lot of doors and a lot of great friendships, you know, evolve. So from a fan's point of view, to be able to do what I did, and I co-wrote this with Jim Baker of the Boston Herald, the great columnist for the Herald, and Jim was more used to this than I was. And for me, it was like a kid in the candy store. I mean, here I was, in the booth, at Schaefer Stadium, I'm dating myself, in Gillette Stadium with Gil and Gino, the whole broadcast crew. People would come and go, all these people that I've known, celebrities for my whole life, getting to go into the Patriots locker room after the game and interview people. From a fan's point of view, it was a dream. From a writer's point of view, it was a little different. So I had to discipline myself to say, no, you have to be objective, you have to look for ask the right questions and look for the right answers in order to write a book that people will like.
All right, so you were in the booth for all the games in the season, and you were with Gil and Gino for a lot more time than that. What were some of the interesting experiences that you had while you were with them? Well,
the first game, of course, was great because I just sat and just watched and observed and took copious notes on how it worked, how the broadcasts work. I hope when people read A View from the Booth, they'll get an idea of how a game gets produced. I think we do one chapter. It was a game, I think, an October game. I forget which game it was. And we really went into detail about how it's like choreography. The producer and the technicians have to get on cue, and the spotter has to be right on, and Gil and Gino have to make those spot-on calls. And so that was fascinating to observe that. You know, I kind of lost track of your question there. What exactly did you want to ask?
Just like, what were some interesting experiences you had? Did anything funny happen?
Oh, sure. Like yeah, well, there was one time that I was given a cup of coffee because it was a cold day, and everybody was there with their coffee all around, and it's not a big space. But if you look at where the broadcast for TV and radio are in Gillette Stadium, you'll notice that it's sort of hung on the stadium. That was an afterthought. They were going to have the broadcast booth way, way up in the third level in the corner. And, you know, it was ridiculous. So at the last minute they realized it. So this is one of the few broadcast booths. To get to it, you have to walk right through the crowd. There's no isolation. There's no press entrance to it. So when the national guys come, you know, they have to just walk through the crowd at Gillette. Of course, they get recognized, and that's really funny, watching some of the fan reaction, especially to Chris Collinsworth. Oh. They did not like some of the comments that he's made over the years about the Patriots, and so I watched him try to navigate through the crowd, and it was very amusing. But getting back to the point where it was a crowded studio, and so my coffee was here, somebody else's coffee was there on this little teeny ledge. Somebody came in, they haven't seen, I won't name names, but it was somebody kind of famous in broadcasting. They give Gil and Gino, you know, man hugs, and boom, over the coffee goes. And it goes all over the producer's cards. The producer has cards for every commercial break, and they're all covered with coffee. And it's about 15 seconds to go before kickoff, and it was like, it was mad. You know, it's funny now. It wasn't funny then. What I did, I just slunk back way in the back of the booth till it got all cleaned up before I made myself known.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a chapter in the book. I'm not quite sure what number it was, but it was very interesting, and it compared what the producers have to do in a home game and in an away game. And it was very detailed, as all of this book is, so I would definitely recommend reading this. So at least Gil has been through good times and bad with the Patriots. So do you think, Mr. Burgess, that his view of broadcasting the Patriots has changed throughout the years?